Jim Holley, Supercross Live on supercrossonline.com. The man to the right of me, Jason Weigandt from Racer-X. Jason, another wild night. James Stewart leading this thing. Looks like he has everything under control. Wins the heat race, setting fast time. Loses the front end in a left-hander, then gets back up and looks like he was in a little bit of a hurry and crashed again in the whoops and crashed hard.
You know, I think this race, as you'd almost want to see, the whole season was summed up the way it went tonight at Salt Lake City's Rice-Eccles Stadium. All the elements that had been in play all year were at play, and everybody got to settle it straight up. James Stewart had the speed. He was in control. He seemed like he had it, but he crashed. And that has been the issue all year long. And he managed to crash twice in the exact same ways he's been crashing all year. Washed out in a turn, and then went down in the whoops. So his whole season was basically wrapped up in this. And I feel the same thing for Ryan Villopoto and Chad Reed. We've seen those guys really elevate themselves and show you they gave everything they had at different points this year. And they did that again tonight. Those guys really rode their hearts out. You know, you mentioned those guys, and both of those guys, like you said, I think Ryan Villopoto showed that he wants that championship. In the beginning, he knew how important it was to get around Chad Reed, to get into that second spot, because Stewart was leading. Then with things happening with Stewart, he's leading, and then Chad Reed saw how urgent it was to try to get around Villopoto, because Chad Reed now sits 9 down going into Vegas. If he was able to win this one, he would only be 3 behind Villopoto. So, I mean, a lot of things happened. I thought another guy that rode well, Andrew Short, on that 350 KTM for that 4th. Yeah, and you know, with the championship on the line, the intensity that those 4 guys were going to have out front was really going to eliminate anyone else from battling for a podium. Shorty was the best of the rest. He doesn't have nearly as much on the line. The other 4 had every reason to just leave it all out there on the track. So a good ride for him. And as I said, I think this race kind of summed up the series for a lot of riders. Same thing for Ryan Dungey. He was there. He just, to me, didn't quite have the intensity to match the 3 riders that were ahead of him, and even when Stewart went down, Reed and Villopoto just didn't quite have the speed, which I feel has really been the story of Dungey's season. Consistent, but not quite enough. You know, and another thing too, also, that you know, Ryan Villopoto did have his problems in the heat race, losing the front end. So all these guys are making mistakes, and I asked Ryan Villopoto, what's the difference? Why is everyone? We see a lot of guys, you know, falling out there and losing the front end and pushing it. He's just say, you know what, the talent's so steep, everybody is pushing everybody, and that's what happens when you start pushing guys. Yeah, but I think if you wanted to see this title come down to anything, you want to see it come down to that. It wasn't lap traffic, it wasn't injuries, it wasn't first turn crashes or bad starts. You got to see the 4 riders you wanted up front, and they just let it all hang out. And what can you say about Villopoto? Made the move on Reed, started closing on Stewart. Reed put the heat on, gave it everything he had down the stretch. You saw the best of those 2, and Villopoto won by 1.3 seconds. And really, that could ultimately be the decider of this championship. And what better way to have it go down than to see the guys race it out straight up. All right, well, let's transition over to that lights on the west. Eli Tomac comes away with his 2nd win of his career. Wins in San Diego, wins again here in Salt Lake City. Second was a great performance. And I'm drawing a blank on who got second. Well, it was Ken Roxon, which really made a big impact because Brock Tickle is holding the points lead. But I'll tell you what, with him getting 3rd and losing 5 points to Tomac, Tomac's down by 2, Tickle might be in the points lead, but it doesn't seem like that right now. This series completely seems to be under Tomac's control as we head to Vegas. Well, and you mentioned Vegas, it is head-to-head, and that was a good, I was thinking of Roxon because that guy's been over here. I mean, this guy has a lot of frequent flyer miles. He was actually sick coming in here. I talked to him earlier, did an interview with him, and you know, he's here, you know, on the West Coast. He's got Vegas, then he's got the GP, then he heads off to Brazil. I mean, this guy's just flying back and forth. But another thing that I thought was interesting tonight in that lights class, Josh Hansen, I think, pushed it a little bit too early on Tomac, trying to take that lead, and unfortunately went down, got caught underneath his bike, and he was outside that top 10 and basically threw that championship away, in my opinion. Well, I'm going to agree with you on that one, where we saw Reed and Villopoto do everything they could and do everything right, and just one man had to win and one man had to lose. I think it was the opposite here in the lights class. There was no need for Hansen to do that. I think he was trying to show Tomac what's up, trying to show him, I'm the man in this class, don't try to mess with me. And I've been in this class a long time, and you're the rookie, and this is my championship, and I'm going to take it away from you right now in that first lap. Exactly. I think he was trying to take him out, he was trying to rough him up, and there's no reason to do that in the first lap of the race. If you really feel you're faster than him, you're going to win over the course of 15 laps. Now, what's interesting is Hansen actually apologized. He sent an apology tweet to Tomac, to Factory Connection, to his own team. He said there was an immature pass attempt on his part, so he's put it on his shoulders. But the damage is done now. Hansen finished 13th, so as far as the championship goes, it would take a miracle. It's really between Tickle and Tomac. And Tomac being down only 2, if he wins in Vegas, he's got it. So Tickle's going to have to find some way to hold this kid back because Tomac's on a roll.
Well, that's it from Rice-Eccles Stadium here in Salt Lake City. For Jason Weigandt and Jim Holley, that's it. We'll see you guys in Vegas, and don't forget about that East-West shootout in Las Vegas. It's going to be a barn burner.